everybody. Welcome back to SHCTV. I'm Secondhand Coke here with utter disbelief at episode 4 of With Love, Meghan. Please remember to like, subscribe, and leave feedback in the comments. Let's go ahead and get started. So, today's guest on episode 4, entitled Love is in the Details, is Delphine Blaquier, who is Nacho Figueroa's wife. And Nacho, as we know, is Harry's polo bromance buddy. And supposedly, Meghan and Delphine, or Delphi, as Meghan calls her, is on to show a real. Before we do that, though, let's talk Mindy, Netflix, and Chef Roy Choi. Got a little bit of stuff, nothing too groundbreaking to share with you. Um, uh, Chef Roy and Meghan really didn't hit it off, I'm told, and I don't think that's a big surprise having seen the episode. He insulted her crudité idea right off the bat, and that did not go over well. He also made her put her hair back in a ponytail and follow appropriate kitchen technique, or not walk around barefoot where you can drop a knife on your foot. And she didn't like that either, because who doesn't like stringy hair hanging in your food? um as regards Netflix, I wanted to clarify, because I think it's not very clear. This is not, these episodes they're releasing are not necessarily a new season. They are completion of season 1. So they filmed I guess, dear God, if they filmed 16 episodes, I'm gonna oh my god. But they filmed a number of episodes. They released the first 8, and now they're gonna drop, I guess, the second 8. I guess we're in for 16. So we'll get ready for that ride. But it's not the second season. They would have to renew for the second season, and they haven't said that. This is stuff that's already been shot, it's already been ready to go, and this is just a release of the continuation of the first season. I also was thinking about Mindy Kaling, who has taken a lot of heat for, showing up on Meghan's show. And I got to thinking about it, and I also got to reading up on Mindy, because I didn't know a lot about her. She really is incredibly accomplished, and Meghan should be bowing at her feet for agreeing to come on to her little show. But so Mindy, apparently, when this came about, had just had her third baby, who was about 3 months old when Meghan's group called and asked her, You want to come over and star in this show, and you'll have food made for you, and you'll be taken care of, and whatever. And I gotta tell you, if I were just out of a pregnancy, and we're dealing with a 3-month-old, as well as she has 2 other small children, I'd probably head over there too. I don't know, I'd probably regret it, having seen what happened, but I just think she probably should be given a break, because having a baby's hard. The show starts out with this big mountain landscape view, which is actually the view from the back of that estate that they rented to shoot the series. And when I saw it at first, they're doing this dramatic "give me land, lots of land" like music, and then they show the mountains in a Netflix series, and I'm like, oh God, is this like a Brokeback Mountain series or something? And I thought maybe I was going to be seeing something good, but no, it turned out to just be Meghan's show. So she starts out saying, well, Delphi, my dear friend, is coming over. And I thought, before we go for a little hike, I'll make us some sun tea. Really? You're going to show us how to make tea? And sun tea at that? What are we, 5? Also, I'm always suspicious of people when they say, my dear friend, or my sweet friend, so and so. I'm like, you really don't know the person, do you? If that's the adjective you have to reach for. Just my thought. Meghan rebounds a little bit by saying she made it as a kid and now she makes it with her own kids. I highly suspect I don't believe that for a moment. I don't believe she does stuff with her kids unless it's for Instagram. I just don't. Um, so she's like, "But you can use nice silk bags and get lots of loose leaf tea." And I'm like, "Silk bags? Who the hell has silk bags just sitting around their house ready for loose leaf tea so we can go make why not just get some tea bags and go make the tea like normal people?" And she, in fact, says that as a kid, she would go sneak and get a tea bag and a mason jar or probably an old spaghetti jar because, they were so impoverished. Um, but it's just I have a lot of animosity to this episode because it was pretty boring for me, and so I just kinda got angry to entertain myself. So if I feel a little, jabby or angry, just please excuse that. I'm not trying to be mean, not really. I really do try to have an open mind when I watch this stuff because I don't wanna rat on her for things that are not relevant, but I just think nothing in this show that she showed us how to do is original. It's all basic Pinterest stuff that we were doing back in 2011 on mommy blogs. So in the next little segment, she's building her bag of stuff for Delphine to take home, as she does whenever these fools come and visit her. And so she decides to make dog biscuits for Delphi's puppy, Nina. When she's cutting them out, she kind of makes them out of peanut butter and bacon and, anything dogs will eat, which dogs will eat anything. Am I the only one who thinks that dog food looks like compressed dirt? I'm talking about kibble, like not the canned stuff, which I can't handle. But anyway, so she's got her dog food dough rolled out. Would that I had the time to make my own dog biscuits. But anyway, she helpfully lets us know that if we don't have dog-shaped cookie cutters, we can use other kinds of cookie cutters, like heart-shaped cookie cutters or whatever. I'm surprised she didn't say that when she was a kid making her own custom dog biscuits, that she didn't just use a glass like we do to cut out biscuits if you can't afford like a biscuit cutter. But then the show rather starts to focus in on Guy, and she's all about dogs. They provide us with unconditional love, and I love my Guy. He can have whatever he wants because he's whatever kind of guy you need him to be. And then she finishes baking the dog biscuits and she goes over and gives Guy one, and Guy eats it. And then he whimpers for another one. And then she's like, the rest are for Nina. I thought he could have whatever he wanted. Like, uh, he can't have two dog biscuits, Megan? How chintzy can you be? Poor guy. Poor guy, really. I did a tribute video to Guy just in case the report that he died is true and she doesn't actually just have him in a bunker somewhere or hasn't gotten his two legs broken again. Do you notice that Guy never moves from that bed? And is it me or is that an Hermes dog collar? Because I cannot imagine how many hundreds of dollars a Hermes dog collar would be. And if it is, that is the most pretentious waste of money I have ever seen in all my born days. So, with the next part, she starts putting the dog biscuits into these little jars that she has, and then she custom writes, I'm not going to call it calligraphy because it's not, dog biscuits on it. And then she's tying this bow and she's like, it doesn't have to be perfect. And she continues tweaking it. It just has to be, just okay. We're not striving for perfection. We're striving for whatever the hell. Um, and it reminded me of her appearance as the serial killer, the princess serial killer on Castle. So check this out, keeping in mind her obsession with the bows from the segment.
Listen, take a look at how the bows are tied on the victims' costumes. What about them? Well, the killer tied these bows after the victims were drugged. See how they look? How the loops are pleasingly horizontal. Now, look at the bow on your Sleeping Beauty outfit. See how the loops are vertical? It's a little weird. I mean, the killer tied all three bows. Why would yours be different?
It's because you tied all three bows. This one is different because you tied it on yourself behind your back.
No, I was attacked. I am a victim.
Yet your doctor said you received half.
So much of what is said and done in these shows is so redundant and so repetitive and so unnecessary and so Captain Obvious that I can't actually believe she's showing us how to do whatever she's doing. She goes outside at this one point to sit her sun tea out, and she helpfully lets us know that the sun is coming, and when it does, we'll have sun tea. Well, hot damn, who would have thought that? I would never have suspected that the sun was going to come up another day. Science be damned. I mean, I guess we never know if we're going to actually see the sun another day because, stuff happens. But to just come out and say the sun is coming, I didn't need that. There was also this little bit where when she takes her dog biscuits out of the oven, she makes sure to check her Princess Diana Cartier tank watch to see what time it is while she's got all those bangles and whatever layered on her wrist and that hair hanging down into whatever she's stirring in the pot. Oh, she's stirring her preserves. So let's talk about those. Probably because people have just been, Megan's jam, and then even her saying my jam is my jam. That maybe this is why she felt compelled to let us know that the technical term for jam requires half sugar, half um, fruit, or some sense, some whatever. And so she's like, no, this is preserves is what I'm making. I'm such a preserve nerd. Ugh, she's so awkward. There's one point where she starts going, she's stirring the pot with her hair hanging all in it. And she's going, it's peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time, which was a meme that used to go around in the early 2000s. I have no idea if it still goes around. I personally haven't seen it, and I've spent a fair amount of time online. So I feel like if it were still a thing, I would have seen it. But she's just so incredibly awkward, and her references are so untimely. And then she has to go and dance and while she's singing peanut butter jelly time, and it's a little bit embarrassing. It's like it's cringy. That's the word. And then, of course, we have to be told because we don't know when we put hot stuff into like a room temperature jar that it's going to create a suction and then seal the jar. So she has to like create this moment for us where she's just, squeezing her fingers together just so, and then it pops and she's like, it's sealed, it's great. Yeah, it is great. Thank you. So finally, it is time where Delphi is arriving. So Meghan helpfully goes to her chalkboard and writes, "Ready or not, here I crumb," because puns are awesome. Actually, they're not. Shakespeare's the only one who should do puns, and he's dead, so it's done. Um, and then this is where we got that clip from the trailer where she's like, okay, let's go. And so Delphine comes in, and of course, Meghan's got to hug her, and Meghan's standing in the kitchen in her bare feet, and Delphine is wearing her shoes because she's just come in. And Meghan's like, oh my gosh, you're so tall. And you really do see what a tiny woman Meghan is. And she makes Delphine take off her shoes. And I'm like, you guys are going to be cooking. This cooking in bare feet, it's just weird. It's anyway. So I just wonder, why did she have to take off? Is Meghan intimidated by her height, or I think it really bothers her because Meghan did put supermodel on her resume, which is documented online. So, I wonder, but was it a term of the house that you couldn't wear your shoes inside, or was it that I don't know. But the first activity that Meghan has planned for them is that she's going to finally teach Delphine how to make focaccia. I mean, Delphine has the internet, Meghan, and she has YouTube, and you only need Google and YouTube, and you can learn to do anything. I don't know why anybody can't figure out everything. I read my own MRI one time by going on YouTube and watching people explain how to read MRIs. I just couldn't wait to see if there was something really wrong with my knee, or if I was just, imagining it. And it was a torn meniscus, and I read it, and then the doctor confirmed it when I went to the doctor. And so, the point is that you don't why would anybody need Meghan Markle to teach them how to make focaccia? The premise is so kind of absurd, and it sounds really forced and uncomfortable, the way that the interaction goes. Now, I really liked her, and I kind of didn't expect to, because you think somebody who's friends with Meghan probably doesn't have the same values as you do, or the same capacity to tolerate boredom as you do. But Delphine's energy is just really calm and really, just she's got a good presence in front of the camera. She's comfortable. She's just very steady and very warm and very likable. And so I, expected to feel differently, but I actually really liked her in the end of this. And I wish that more of the episode had been about talking about her, because she has some interesting stories to tell. I mean, she's got 4 kids. She's accomplished in her own right. She's married to Nacho, who does the polo, and she's from Argentina, which we have to find out about a lot about. Not her being from Argentina, but Meghan having done her internship or whatever. But and then Guy remains in the bed there, just staring into the bleak, dark space, wondering why and for how long he's got to endure this particular episode of With Love, Meghan. In this part is where we have to establish that Meghan was in Argentina, and Meghan speaks Argentinian Spanish, or she speaks Spanish with an Argentine accent. And so that's like one of the first things that Delphi says to her. And she was like, I was thrown away because I didn't know that. And I thought that was so cute that I was thrown away. because it's blown away. Is it blown away everywhere, or is that one of those regional idioms that kind of changes? If you say thrown away, let me know because I'm curious. It could be a regional thing, but it seemed cute to me because I expected blown away. But so yeah, Megan's just, that I lived there. Yeah, yeah. And then Megan has to go on pontificating about, but it's such a pretty language because it sounds musical. La 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 la, whatever Spanish phrase she's rehearsed prior to videotaping this. She just, draws it out and really makes it more than it should be. And it turns out to be a setup to talk more about her, which is really not that interesting. But that's what this entire series seems to be about. It's about letting everybody know that the things we've said about her aren't true and that she really can speak Spanish and whatever else. Here we've got Megan continues to just drop little phrases in Spanish, like she'll say trace tablespoons, or in this case she's saying, what else, and Michael has to come in and kind of prompt the conversation along. And then Megan starts talking about, well, when the boys had their polo 2 years ago, at the end we had an asado at our house. And it just is so, the boys had their polo 2 years ago. It's such a staged comment to say, yeah, we're Harry and I are still together and we're doing things together, and I went to his polo 2 years ago and we're still together. And the thing is, they're not. I'm just saying, I believe they're living in the same house and sharing responsibilities when I see it. But it's just another opportunity for Megan to just kind of answer back at things that have been said before. I think that's what this feels like. It just it's odd. In this section, it was just I was like, is she trolling us? Because she's talking about, I was just trying to do something that scares me. And then she says, I used to be scared of roasting a chicken. What is it with the roast chicken? Like, supposedly that's what they were doing with the night they got engaged, was roasting a chicken. And the thing is that there's always been that connotation, that sexual innuendo, or that uh what's it called, hell, anyway, the double entendre. Like, I wonder if she's doing that on purpose. Is she trolling us? I've always wondered that. I mean, not that I am on Urban Dictionary all the time, but it's been kind of the thing that everybody's been joking about. And so I'm like, why would you bring that up when you know it to be? That's another reason why this just feels like it's, answering something that's already been proposed, or everything's a clapback with her, it seems. Just let it go and go underground for a little while, and then maybe emerge in a few years and see what you can do with your image once people have moved on. But to continue to just berate everybody with explanation after explanation after explanation of what is actually going on is so off-putting, and it's not very effective because it just reinforces her selfishness and self-centeredness and complete self-interest and lack of interest in anybody else. This entire episode is about sharing things about her, and then some little tricks along the way that are supposed to be good hostessing skills, when nothing, as I said, has been done that you wouldn't see on a Pinterest board in 2014. We finally get to where they're going on their hike that Meghan has planned with them. So, of course, we do a costume change. And then there's this contrived conversation where Delphi asks, "You did the scouts when you were a little girl?" And then Meghan goes into this history of herself as a Girl Scout. And I was wondering, what are the chances that somebody who is from Argentina is really familiar about the Girl Scouts? Is that an international organization? I just it didn't feel to me like that would be something that she would ask. So it seemed to me like something that had been kind of scripted so Meghan could share photos of herself in a Girl Scout uniform with a box of cookies when she was in 1985. And I'm also irritated because she says, "I started as a daisy," which is when you're 5 or 6. No, a daisy is when you're 5. Brownies are when you're 6. And she's sharing a picture of herself in the brownie Girl Scout uniform. And how do I know that's a brownie Girl Scout uniform? Because the year before, probably Meghan did, my mom made me do brownies, and that was not a good experience for me. So I'm not knocking the Girl Scouts. I'm just saying I hated having to wear that outfit to school on Tuesdays, and I'm still a little bitter over it. And just going to be honest with you about that. Anyway, if let me know, like anybody maybe viewing this internationally, are you familiar with the Girl Scouts? Is that something that is an international interest? I thought it was kind of an American thing, but I don't know. So enlighten me if you would in the comments. Then we go to this rugged, really beautiful landscapes and just kind of seeing the mountains and nice scenery. And they continue to have conversation, but it continues to go back to Meghan. For example, she says, "When I lived in Argentina," and I'm sorry, she was there for 2 months. That's not living in a place. That's visiting the place. Just, want to clarify that in case Amber Heard is watching and she is confused about synonyms again. Living in a place is not the same as visiting a place, and just as pledging is not the same as donating, etc. But then Meghan said, "I think the reason I loved Argentina so much is that it reminded me of California in a lot of ways, where you have the mountains and you just have this joy of life." And I'm like, why does she continually appropriate every country that she goes to and make it all about her? I mean, why does Argentina have to be compared to California just because she grew up in California? I don't care. I've been to California. It's beautiful, but you know where else is beautiful? Appalachia, the Ozarks. I mean, there are a lot of places in the world where you have mountains and where you have joy of life. And also there are places where you have no mountains and you still have joy of life. It I don't understand why joy of life is tied to why she ties it to the mountains, or why it, you know, I don't know. I don't know a lot of things about this. Now, I will say there is one story that we find out about Delphine and about her experiences and her childhood. And she tells about how she and her friends used to play with sticks in the yard and like build imaginary little farms and horse paddocks and things like that. And I'm thinking she's playing with sticks because I'm guessing how she grew up was not, with the means to buy Hermes dog collars. And it was nice to hear something from her for once, but it's the only time that it happens. And it's just such a waste and such bad TV. I mean, it's bad hosting. you talk about the guest, you don't talk about yourself. You I okay. So the next thing that happens just totally knocked me down. I wasn't expecting it and I was irritated. And so this actually was a good thing to happen. But the next little guest trick that Meghan shows us had me laughing on the floor because she's like, we go back in time before the hike and she wants to show us how to make, wait for it, lavender towels. I don't know why it makes me laugh so much. It's just like, really? How out of touch is this? You're going to tell somebody how to make lavender towels? Why? What on earth? And then, well, let's go into the tutorial that she does. So, the whole concept of lavender towels is to have a cold lavender scented towel when you return from an activity requiring exertion or sweat, like going to the gym. And Megan starts off, with, it's just the simple things. Love is in the details, gang. Okay, fam, so then she goes through how to make it, and it is the most basic thing in the world, but it is so out of touch. I mean, am I alone? Is there anybody here who, and if you do, I'm not trying to shame anybody for what they value and what they have time and inclination and means to do, but when you're hosting a television show, you want to do stuff that seems, I don't know, accessible, maybe a little bit more important than this type thing, because I don't think this detail is it works out very well for her once we see her give Delphine a towel in a few minutes. But so the basic concept is she's putting like a few drops of lavender essential oil into a bowl of cool water, and she's putting, dousing the towels into the water and then rolling them up and putting them in the fridge so that when you get back they're cold. Wowee. And then she kind of turns it into, Captain Obvious school teacher here. She's like, what's a nice scent that you could use if you don't like lavender? Well, citrus would be great, right? It's comical. It's comical. I mean, yeah, thanks for the laugh, Meg. Appreciate it. So the big lavender towel unveiling happens, and Megan comes up to Delphi and says in Spanish, "Smells good, right?" And Delphi's like, "My makeup's gonna come off on this." So they sit down and they drink their lavender tea, and every episode of this show, Megan has been throwing back the alcohol like it's just not covered up in any way. Even in the Mindy Kaling episode, she's like, well, welcome to Montecito. So I guess they just bought down bottles of rosé all day. But with this part, when they're talking about their sun tea, Delphi's like, well, you can make a cocktail with this. And then Megan does this weird little grin thing that's very kind of gremlin. And she says in Spanish, tell me. It's just contrived. I mean, and I don't want to get into the area of, body shaming or anything like this, but this is a behavior, and I think it's an unhealthy one. Meghan has she, when you look at Meghan, say in the engagement interview, now, there are problems and red flags galore in the engagement interview. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I didn't kind of really go off Team Meghan until the pregnancy announcement at Eugenie's wedding. But, I did kind of feel a little uncomfortable during the engagement interview. But one thing I'll say, aside from her wearing sleeveless when it wasn't appropriate, was that she looked very nice. She is a pretty woman, not like Julia Roberts, she wishes, but she's an attractive woman, or she was, and she looked natural, and her hair looked natural, and just, better taken care of. And maybe it's because she was just off Suits at the time and had been being styled and whatever throughout that whole experience, and so they took care of her hair and kind of helped her along with her makeup. But look at her now. I mean, she's orange and she's got that scrawny little face when it used to be kind of fuller and natural and healthier looking, and her chin and jawline look all wrong, and it has that look of people that get too much plastic surgery, and she's got to stop. Like, this happens to every desperate housewife. This is what Meghan is going to end up being. I don't see any way around it. If she's going to do anything, she's going to do Desperate Housewives. And it, I just, it's so, I just wish that we, and one's body is one's body and you can do whatever you want to it. But I just wish with aging that we could, embrace it more readily and naturally, and not, get our jaws shaved off with a jigsaw or whatever plastic surgeons are using, and look like we've been kind of carved into something that doesn't look natural. And that's Meghan to a T. That nothing she does seems natural. Everything seems artificial and contrived and sculpted and managed, micromanaged. And that's why people react negatively to her, because there is no authenticity there. And until she figures out that, talking about yourself all the time and constantly, feeling like you've got to explain something to make somebody be on your side, it's not working, and it's just going to continue to dig her into a hole. But I guess that's what's going to happen, because I don't see her stopping anytime soon. So the time has come for the big exchanging of the gifts, and she shows Delphi her, dog biscuits for her dog, and her, or jar of jam, or sorry, preserves, and her whatever else she put in there. Sun tea. And Meghan is sitting there, and there's been another costume change. And first of all, this dress thing she's wearing, I don't know what's going on under the arm there. It looks like the seam is turned up, or something. Has it been pinned because it doesn't fit? What is going on there? But the dress itself, is that what it is? A dress looks like something from the Flintstones to me. And I don't know if I'm alone in that, but I just have to share it with you, because to me, that looks like Betty Rubble fashion. And that, I mean, I don't know if Betty Rubble is high fashion now, but I don't think having, exposed seams and whatever else is going on under there is a really good look for her. Um, so then she goes into this segment where she throws pasta in a bowl and a bunch of vegetables, or greens and stuff in it, and just calls it, a dish. There's nothing put in there for any kind of taste. Maybe I can't remember if I know that they sauteed some garden peas and some zucchini. It looks like maybe there's onions and garlic in there. I would hope so, because otherwise I cannot imagine what this bowl of pasta, pasta surprise would taste like. And why this is not aspirational. Throwing rigatoni in a bowl or a pot and boiling it and just throwing stuff in there afterwards as an afterthought is not creating something that anybody wants to do for dinner. If you're going to be an influencer and someone who, has a home line, you want to give people things that make them want to partake in what you're selling. I It seems obvious to me, but maybe it's not. So the pasta in that bowl it doesn't look like it's been cooked right. I like some of the noodles look like they're hard and some look like they're soft. And is all she gonna do is pour olive oil on it? Oh, and she kept some more pasta water. So remember, that's her big trick with pasta, is to keep the water so that she can, chunk it up or whatever the hell she thinks she's doing with it. And then she says, "Our husbands will be so jealous that we've had this feast without them." And that is just such an obvious plotted line to tell everybody, "Oh yeah, Harry and I are still living in the same house. Totally. We're not apart and doing things separately and at each other's throats whenever we're together all the time. Everything is just great. Whatever you see, everything is just great." So then she does a charcuterie board and explains to us all the flavor types in case we don't know. And the charcuterie board looks really good. She's good at putting food in places on boards, arranging things. She's good at flower arrangements, and she's good at arranging people, because every time she meets somebody, she throws her arms around them and hugs them and then like manhandles them into a new place wherever that is best suited for her desires at the time. She's practically got a steering wheel on the back of Prince Harry, steering him around every time she's with him. And maybe Meghan should go into arranging things. Open a flat. No, that gets into some Blake Lively territory there. I was gonna say open a flower shop, but I'm not even getting into Blake right now. Or maybe I should. Might be a nice break. So they do actually do a nice charcuterie board, and everything looks good. We'll go to the last slide. So they've got this feast now, like spread out with the focaccia and this charcuterie and the absolutely ridiculous looking pasta that can't have any taste, but who cares about that? And they have it set on the grass. They like to have these wraps around them because I guess it's cool, or maybe there's another costume change. I don't know. But then they do this other thing that should have been given more attention and more explanation, and it's mate, which is apparently this custom in Argentina of drinking, I guess, what's like a kind of tea like um, drink. And so Delphi kind of shows Meghan how to do it, but there's not a whole lot of time and explanation put into it. So I don't know. I kind of got the idea that it was communal because you're drinking out of the same straw, but I also I also would have liked to have heard more about it. Anyway, so at the end, there's a dog there, and the dog is he. I don't know. I would have left the dog inside, and I love dogs and animals in general, so I'm not anti-dog. But I mean, if for nothing else, then that dog looks so over these episodes. I think that one's Pula, isn't that Pula? I think she also went on the hike. Um, She's a good girl, probably, but look at her eyes. She's just seen too much. She's over it with her gold collar. Um, anyway, thank you guys for showing up today to critique this episode with me. I'll be back in a day or two with episode 5, which has Kelly Zafin and some other woman, where Meghan's bringing over her friends and they have lunch together, I think. And am I wrong, or did Meghan not say on the record, I don't want to be a lady who lunches? So she makes a television show with an episode with her being a literal lady lunching. Okay, you do you. Um, I'm excited to watch this one. I haven't watched it yet. I'm not excited because this is painful TV, but I am intrigued because I always feel like Kelly Zafin has this look in her face like I am not interested in what you have to say. I like when Meghan, you know, crashed the Children's Hospital LA gala back in October and had to be escorted out. Meghan, usurped Kelly's red carpet moment, and the look on her face was just so telling. But I thought in the previews for episode 5, I saw some similar looks like that, where the smile on Kelly's face just looks like, dear God, get me out of here. So I'm intrigued to watch it and to tell you about it next time. So thanks again for showing up, and I hope if you liked this episode that you will like, share, subscribe, and leave any comments with feedback or to what we talked about today. So thanks again for coming, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.